Florida is preparing its largest evacuation in 7 years as the U.S. braces for the arrival of Hurricane Milton. The storm is forecast to make landfall on Wednesday, hitting the Tampa Bay area before making its way across to Orlando. It's been just under 2 weeks since another devastating storm, Hurricane Helene, hit Florida. Forecasters say it's likely that some of the same areas are going to be hit again. Across 6 states, at least 215 people dead as a result of Hurricane Helene, with hundreds still missing. Over 750,000 homes are without power, and experts say Helene was the deadliest mainland U.S. hurricane since Katrina. That was back in 2005. The full scale of the damage still unknown. Many towns completely cut off from the outside world, with roads and communication lines still down. The recovery could take years, and that is even before Hurricane Milton, which is on its way. It's still to make landfall. Our weather presenter Chris Fawkes has more for us.
Another damaging hurricane is on the way to the United States. Following on from the devastation that Hurricane Helene brought, we now have Hurricane Milton undergoing rapid intensification over the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, this will be bringing some strong winds and torrential rains to the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. It then heads out over the open waters and gains significant power. At its peak, we're expecting this to be a Category 4 hurricane, not far off a Category 5 hurricane, which is a top-rated storm. Gusts of wind about 175 miles an hour. It then will work its way northeastwards and is expected to make landfall in central regions of Florida during Wednesday. The peak gusts of wind, probably around 155 miles an hour. It's likely to be a Category 3 hurricane, but it's not far off being a Category 4 hurricane. So damaging, destructive gusts of wind are on the way. As well as that, of course, there's going to be some torrential falls of rain pretty widely across Florida. There'll be some areas that see nearly 400 millimetres of rain, and coastal areas are going to be inundated by a very large storm surge. 3.5 metre high wall of water in places that is 12 foot high that will cause coastal inundation. So Hurricane Milton is on the way, bringing a combination of damaging, destructive gusts of wind and severe flooding, both from the torrential rain and from the coastal storm surge.
Well, let's speak to Alan Archer, who is a meteorologist based in Tampa, Florida. Alan, good to have you with us. There must be so much concern and worry now about what is going to happen with Milton. What are people preparing for?
Well, once again, we're talking about a storm surge, Lucy, of as much as 9 to 12 feet. So we're talking about 3.5, 4.5 meter storm surge along the west coast of Florida Wednesday night, early Thursday. And that's significant because Helene produced a storm surge about a meter less than what we're expecting to see with Milton. And a lot of these people that live along the Florida west coast suffered just unbelievable damage. Now, on top of that is this storm. So once again, a lot of people are very worried. Right now, it's a 100 mile an hour, 160 kilometer per hour hurricane that's in the southwest Gulf of Mexico, expected to intensify to 125 mile an hour, 180 kilometer per hour sustained wind hurricane with higher gusts still. And all this is expected to arrive along the west coast of Florida Wednesday night, early Thursday.
And Alan, the only option for people living on the coast is to evacuate, surely?
That's about right. You know, one of the big issues is going to be not only the coastal flooding, but also is going to be the major power outage. A lot of the crews that would repair the electrical grid after a hurricane, they're up in North Carolina because they're repairing the damage left by Helene. And now, with this system expected to affect more metropolitan areas like Tampa Bay, like Orlando, the Disney World area of Central Florida, this could mean that some areas that were without power maybe 5 days could go 2 full weeks without power, beginning Thursday and lasting at least through next week.
Alan, when will we know what the prediction is for the exact point of landfall?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The European forecast model, which usually is the best forecast model for predicting point of landfall and location or path of the hurricane, is suggesting just south of Tampa Bay here on early Thursday morning. But we've got forecast models showing all the way along the west coast of Florida, running for about maybe 100 miles. And that could make a big difference. In other words, a storm that's 100 miles, let's say north of Tampa Bay versus south of Tampa Bay, can have a huge difference as far as the impact. We should have a better feel, I would say, 24 hours from now.
And Alan, what is the feeling just amongst ordinary people in Florida about the fact that you are seeing more storms and they are much more intense?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I've lived here 40 years, and up till about 10 years ago, we barely had any hurricanes that impacted our area. And now it seems like almost every year. In fact, this is the 9th hurricane of the season. It's the 5th to form in the last 2 weeks in the Atlantic Basin, which is the most on record in the last 2-week period that we've ever had. So the sea surface temperatures are warm. They'll stay warm through the end of the hurricane season, November 30th. And there's even times, actually, some years, we even have hurricanes go into December. I wouldn't be surprised to see even this hurricane season be extended into December based on how much warm weather we have, warm waters we have in the Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic, and Caribbean.
Alan, stay safe, and thank you so much for joining us.